Hey, Archery Talk, this is Lucas, and tonight we've got a new bow unboxing and setup for you. It is going to be from Obsession Archery, and I have popped this box at home just because I got it a couple weeks back, and I couldn't wait. So what we have here is the Ultramag 360 Plus. Let's pop it out of the wrapper, and then we'll talk about what this bow has to offer. So here we have it. Here is that Ultramag 360 Plus. Let's talk specs before we go any further. This bow has an axle to axle length of 33 1/8 inches, at least according to the specs on their website, a brace height of 6 inches. It's got an IBO rated speed of up to 362 feet per second. I don't normally see up to when I'm looking at these rated speeds online on the manufacturer's websites. Let me say I shot this bow at the ATA show. They told me it was 70 pounds, and if it indeed was 70 pounds, it did not feel like a bow that was going 362 feet per second. I'll just say that flat out. My guess is that the bow was probably 60 pounds, 62 pounds, something like that, because none of it felt like a speed bow. Now, I have heard from people, because I had some people messaging me on YouTube and the Archery Talk website and such, that they have had a chance to shoot this bow themselves, and they are getting pretty ridiculous speeds out of it, like some people north of 350 feet per second. And if I'm going to see speeds like that, I will be wholly surprised if it's the same feel as the bow I shot at the ATA show. But I'm excited to get this thing all set up. This bow has an adjustable cam set up from 26.5 to 31 inches of draw length. This bow should have been delivered to me with 70 pounds. I'm going to test all that and make sure everything is as close to spec as I can get it before I run this thing through the chronograph, which I have brought with me tonight. So I will be testing all of that. We're going to go into detail on the speed of this bow, which I think is what most people want to talk about. Beyond that, I'm going to get this bow set up and ready to shoot. I am excited. Let's come back to you when this thing is ready to go. This bow is now set up and ready to shoot. The whole setup process was about as easy as any bow I've ever shot in my life. I'll try to get you some details for that in a second. I have got on here a black gold dual pin bow sight. I've got a Q80 Ultra Rest Arrow Rest, and I've got a Hamsky Raptor Peep, a 1/4 inch. That's my favorite peep. I put it on all my hunting bows. And my tried and true titanium archery products stabilizer. This bow for me felt much better with a stabilizer. It's so light. I actually should mention that as well. I did put this on the scale. I put it on 2 different scales, and without anything on it, it was coming in at just a hair under 3.9 pounds on both of those. So I used my arrow draw weight scale, and I used to use a standard like mailing scale, and they both come in 3.89-ish pounds, something like that. The advertised weight was 3.54. It's a little high of that, but I've never had a bow that came in more, under its advertised weight. We'll say that. Still incredibly light in the hand, and the stabilizer for me helps a lot as far as just making the bow feel good. It might be the simplest to use tuning tech of any I've ever tried so far, as a matter of fact. All you do is you put your Allen key in there, the same Allen key you use to change the poundage on the bow. You just put that in either side of the axle, and then just make adjustments, and then the cam will move left to right. And you can do that top and bottom to get the exact tune you want. All of that sounded awesome. I didn't need any of it. I was a little bit disappointed, in fact. When I got this thing set up initially through paper, I just eyeballed the arrow rest, and this thing came out of the box as it was. I didn't touch it yet, and ran that through paper. At least I had as close to a bullet hole on my first shot as I have ever achieved in my life. I was maybe the tail was maybe like an 1/8 of an inch low, so I just dropped my arrow rest a little bit to accommodate for that. The left to right was perfect. So I did experiment with it just to see what it could do, and it obviously makes nice changes left to right. It's awesome. It works great. I love all of these companies that are making it easier for you to tune your bow without using a bow press or having to go to a bow shop to make minor adjustments. It's really good. I'm stunned at how easy it was to set up. I can't remember a bow I've shot out of the box in recent years that was just basically a bullet hole on arrow 1. I shot a few more to confirm it, made a little change, shot a few more to confirm it again, and done like dinner for now. I'll obviously get a little more detailed on that in the coming weeks when I we'll do more group tuning and long distance arrow shooting and see how the arrows are grouping and things like that. But for out of the box, first impressions on tuning, an absolute piece of cake. I was absolutely delighted by this. The bow's grip is another feature I like quite a bit. This feels like it might be a 3D printed grip. I can't say that for sure. Just looking at just how the bow, it looks in person, it feels like it might be a 3D printed bow, grip rather. It's maybe a smidge wide for my hand, but that's just me, that's personal preference. I like that it's flat. I have no complaints really about this. I would maybe wish it got a slightly a bit narrower up towards the throat, but that's really picking nits. This grip is, as close to perfect as you want to get. It's got the Picatinny mount if you want to use that. I don't have that mounted on here right now. It's got the Integrate Arrow Rest mount if you want to use that. I don't have that on here either. I just use standard stuff. This is what I grabbed before I left the house. And all of that works fine. You've got multiple stabilizer points up front. We got the main one here. We got a lower one down there. And we've got a nice low one down there on the backside if you want to run a back bar coming off this or anything like that. Not my personal preference. Fit and finish overall, pretty nice. I don't have any major complaints. Up on like the cable guard on the top there, I tried to take some pictures of it earlier to show you. It's got weird, almost looks like water spots. I don't think that's what it is. That might come off with time. Right out of the box it came like that. And there's maybe like a tiny little hairline scratch on the grip, but that might have been me. Beyond that, it's pretty fantastic. When you consider this bow is $1,500 and with that magnesium riser, that is hundreds of dollars less than what Expedition and Bowtech are charging for theirs. So kudos to Obsession for keeping the prices reasonable on that one. Out of the box, this was almost exactly right on draw weight out of the box. Often bows come in there 2 or 3 pounds heavy. This one was maybe a ½ pound heavy. I made like 1/8 of a turn, and I've got this thing about as close to 70 pounds on the dot as I can get. It came here in the number 4 position on the cam, which I thought was going to make that 29.5 inches. And so I moved it to the 3 position, then I checked the draw length, and it was running a little over ½ inch long, so I moved it back to the position it initially came in, and now it's about 30.25 inches, and that's, pretty close to spec as I would like to get. As for shooting this bow, a little while ago I shot a video of me kind of running through the draw cycle, so let's cut to that right now. So let's talk draw cycle. As I mentioned, I have been shooting this bow now, I don't know, for 2-3 hours tonight. The bow's been set up, it's been tuned, everything is going according to plan. And I figure we should talk about how the bow actually feels to shoot before I get to the speed test, which I'm going to do immediately after I shoot this. So it definitely feels like a speed bow. Let's get that straight right away. I mean, with a 360 foot per second rated speed, this is not going to feel like a super easy to draw bow, and that's expected. But I will say it is not as bad as I was expecting it to be if the speeds are going to be up to par. I am a bit out of archery shape. I've not been shooting my bow as much as I would like to this summer. I was doing other things, busy with family and stuff like that. So my strength probably isn't where it should be, but otherwise it feels pretty decent. I've got it set up with a good amount of valley right now. The bow feels really nice in the hand. It does require for me that stabilizer in front just to help steady it because it's so light. I'm going to let down for you to talk about what that's like. So again, if you're braced for the letdown, not terrible. The fastest bow I shot earlier this year in my, I think, 6-bow shootout was the Bowtech Proven 34 in performance mode. And I'm thinking that this bow probably doesn't feel any more aggressive than that. Maybe even a little bit less aggressive than that bow does, again, in performance mode, which is not something I prefer. And that bow was, I clocked that bow at 334 feet per second, which was just 2 feet per second under its advertised speed. So I'm inclined to think that this bow is going to be in that neck of the woods, but who knows? Everyone's been telling me it's faster, so we're going to find out in a little bit. But it feels like a bow that would have been right there with the Bowtech for me in the speed test. So we'll see. Really feels nice to shoot. There's not a lot of vibration. My arrow rest is slapping on the shelf a little bit, so I think there's a little more noise than you might expect otherwise. But really, the bow feels better than I would think of at a bow with an advertised speed like that, which again gives me some pause into what kind of speed numbers I'm going to actually see. But one more time. The tough part is really at the beginning of the draw, which is like that with most performance bows. It gets much easier when you let down. And overall, again, if this bow comes close to its speed numbers, I am delighted by that draw cycle. We'll say that. Let's check the speed. So as I mentioned, it is time to talk speed. And again, I've said since I've shot this bow at the ATA show that it doesn't feel like a bow that it matches its advertised speed. When I shot it today, it felt the same way. It felt it's too good of a bow to feel like it's going that fast, but I was very excited just based on what other people have told me they'd achieved with their chronographs. However, mine is definitely different. With my 350 grain arrow and this bow set up at 70 pounds and 30 inches of draw length, I saw speeds of 329, 328, and 328. So let's say an average of 328 feet per second. With a heavier 460 grain arrow, I saw speeds of 291, 292, and 291 feet per second. Those are very respectable speed numbers from any bow. It's just a little bit underwhelming, disappointing when you see the up to 360 feet per second or so on the website and on the box and whatnot. It's just I am not seeing those numbers, and it didn't feel like I was going to see those numbers when I drew the bow back. I've shot hyper aggressive bows with lofty speed numbers that came close to hitting them, and they, for me, for someone of my frame, are not a pleasure to shoot at 70 pounds. This bow, I like to shoot most bows personally at about 65 pounds, just because I'm kind of a thin guy. I don't want to burn myself out by shooting, outbowing myself with weight. But beside the point, it's we're still looking at a 30 feet per second discrepancy from their up to advertised speed. It's not the first time I've seen that happen with a bow, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last time. It's still a great bow. I love the fit and finish on this bow. I love the draw cycle feels pretty solid on this bow. Again, ultimately it feels about what it shoots. You can't hide speed, in my experience. I hope somebody will figure out how to do it, but no one has figured it out in my experience, at least thus far. But I say that not wanting to say anything else bad about the bow. I really like the bow. I think this is a fantastic value at this price point, considering how light the bow is and how it's priced compared to other bows with the same kind of technology as in the riser. The tuning technology works fantastic, even though I didn't have to use it this time, but it's nice to know that it's there. And I'm sure you can squeeze a few more feet per second out by bumping up to an 80-pound limbs, which I will never do in my lifetime, and using a 400 grain arrow, or going to a longer draw length. You'll obviously still going to squeeze out a lot more feet per second doing that way. But again, that's kind of not really in the spirit of the IBO rated speeds in my mind. But the bottom line, I still do very much like the bow. Just a little bit bummed out about the speed discrepancy, at least on my chronograph. But that is the same chronograph I used on my hunting bow shootout, when in the same location with the same lighting, the same arrow. Everything else I've shot over the years with bows that come very close to achieving their numbers. The Bowtech came within 2 feet per second this year in the exact same conditions. But anyway, I digress. Archery Talk, thank you so much for watching. I've got another bow coming in very soon from Martin Archery, the same company as Obsession. I'm looking forward to setting that one up. We'll talk about that one in the coming weeks, and we'll see what other bows are coming for 2026. Thank you so much.